Huh. I wonder what's behind this door. Wait, what? Oh my god. It is no secret that I love watching game shows, especially when they're more physical. It could be obstacle courses, it could be random games or challenges. I just like a lot of fun, and these have lots of fun. I wanted to watch another game show for the first time ever, and if I'm gonna be doing this, I of course have to go to the land of crazy game shows, otherwise known as Japan. I mean, Takeshi's Castle, my favorite game show of all time, is also from Japan. That then leads me into what this game show I watched is, and it is called Doors. Yes, that is the name. Just Doors, in all caps. I had heard of this show maybe once or twice over the years, but had never seen it and didn't know too much going in. If you want a video that's going to really dive into the intricacies and history of the show, check out Not Undercover Cop 327's video about Doors. My video is specifically just about my first time watching it, so all my opinions are solely based on that. Plus, looking things up about this show is not exactly easy considering its name is literally just Doors. This was a game show that did not have any subtitles, so I was truly going into this show blind. I was going along with the vibes, and for these types of shows, that's really all you need. If you like these videos and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. I also have a Patreon where I upload exclusive content not on this channel, so if you're interested, subscribe to that too. Now, back to the video. Now, I watched the first ever edition of Doors, which was made in 2005. This was also the 50th anniversary of TBS. No, not that TBS. Tokyo Broadcasting System. Doors was made to commemorate that achievement, but this whole program ended up having more versions annually up until 2009. This isn't like a typical game show where there's lots of episodes and stuff like that. It's a once a year thing, and it's also extremely long because of this. This was 3 hours and 17 minutes long in total. I had to be fully locked in when I decided to watch it, and that's not a bad thing either. I just had to be in that kind of mindset when watching because it was so long, and I know something that's 3 hours might end up taking me more like 4 hours to fully watch. Opening up the show, it showed some highlights of Takeshi's Castle and Tokyo Friend Park. I'm guessing these were like tributes or shoutouts in a way because of the whole TBS anniversary and because those were huge game shows in Japan prior to this. I don't know really anything about Tokyo Friend Park, but I of course know plenty about Takeshi's Castle. I just thought that was a sick way of starting this off. Then we're introduced to the people that would be, I guess, in charge of the entire presentation. First was the comedy duo known as 99, consisting of Hiroyuki Yabe and Takashi Okamura. Then there was the main man who would be like commentating over the entire event from the inside, Akira Fukuzawa. 99's main job was to do test tries of all the different challenges, while Akira Fukuzawa was doing what Japanese commentators do best, and that is just scream with passion at what he was witnessing. As someone who also watches a lot of Japanese wrestling, there is nothing quite like their commentary. The actual game show portion of this though was insane. I really liked how they did the reveal for this, as they had these three enter what they had been calling an amusement park to then eventually open the first door to the entire first part of the set. First of all, yes, this was like an amusement park. The different challenges were referred to as attractions and everything was set up as if it was a real amusement park. I mean, I just loved how all of this looked. They absolutely nailed the aesthetic for this, and all the different shots they got throughout the entire program were crazy. Like, they really made this feel like an actual amusement park you could go to with how they had the things moving, the lights flickering, the smoke, the aerial shots too. Each area and room just looked so nice. And yes, that then brings me to areas and rooms. Because this is called Doors, there are lots of doors involved. The teams competing would have to complete the challenges within an area. If you cleared one attraction, you'd then move on into the next room. And once the rooms in that area were completed, you'd go to the next area for those individual rooms. This is also something I really liked about the show because it wasn't just an amusement park that it reminded me of, but it reminded me of escape rooms as well. having to complete one room before moving on to the next, and of course, that's just so fitting with the Doors theme. Each team competing in this was a celebrity type of team. This was not really a show for regular civilians and nobodies, as each team was coming from a certain sector of entertainment. There were teams dedicated to certain television shows, such as dramas or variety shows. There were teams from certain agencies or offices. There were comedy teams, and there was even a team of grab your idols. The first area was called Adventure Park, and its first room was Jungle Adventure. This part consisted of a course that started with a water slide, followed by having to fit inside holes of 3 falling doors, rotating Moai statues, and finally having to shoot a target in between these swinging blockers. For this challenge, each team would have 3 of their own members attempt it, and if just one cleared it, they would advance. I, of course, am very Takeshi's Castle pilled, so I was just anticipating any potential fails that might have happened, and to be fair, they did occur. They mainly just happened on the water slide though, and to my surprise, someone did actually fall in the water on the Moai statue part. One thing I do have to bring up though is that when they were introducing each new team before their members would attempt the course, I was taken aback by one of these members. I could not believe my eyes when I saw that freaking Razor Ramon HG was on this. I was like, what? The GOAT, Razor Ramon Hardgate was on this show? My eyes were not deceiving me though, as this was legit. He was competing on the team for Bakusho Mondai no Bakutan, a comedy variety show, and that reminded me that HG was not just a wrestler, but he was a whole TV star. From the moment I saw he was on this, I was solely rooting for him and this team. But all in all, this first attraction was a super fun way to start the show and get people into what Doors is all about. Room 2 was called Head Balance, and it consisted of 2 people from each team having to walk side by side on uneven paths while balancing a plank on their heads that also had a candle. If they were too tilted one way, the candle would slide to one side and detonate a small explosion, meaning they had failed. This was a one and done thing, no second or third chances. I also enjoyed this one as well because there was so much more tension here now that there was a possible ignition that could occur. There was also just a lot more yelling in this, and I love the added touch of the first person point of view cameras. I'm also happy to say that HG and his partner, Atsushi Susumishita, completed this. After it was all said and done though, only 6 of the 12 starting teams had advanced past these 2 rooms and into Area 2. Area 2 was named Factory Town, and again, I love the aesthetics, designs, and fuel for everything here. I mean, I've said I loved it for the entire show, but I gotta emphasize again. The first attraction here was a pretty fun one called IQ Bungee. 2 members from each team would have to memorize the sequence of colors played in front of them, and if they got it wrong, they'd be pulled up into the air by bungee cord. It was super funny just seeing the reactions of people being launched into the air, especially Okamura from 99. These 2, mainly Okamura though, did their test tries of each challenge, and that was also really enjoyable. But if one of them got it right, that would be enough for their team to advance. I like how HG did get the sequence correct when it was his turn to do it, but they still pulled him up anyways just because. I thought that was a pretty hilarious moment though. The room after this was called Hammer Orchestra, and yeah, that does just sound cool as hell. Besides the first course, this might have been my other favorite portion of this whole program. The challenge here was basically just whack-a-mole, but it was with mice instead, and the goal was when hitting the mice, you'd have to guess the song title based on the sounds and rhythm of the mice being hit. One person from each team would have 2 chances to do it. I found this extremely funny though because there'd be plenty of times when contestants would miss quite a lot of the mice and would then still have to try to guess the song that they just failed at playing. I didn't know any of these songs of course, but it was funny just seeing all of their reactions to this. The final attraction of Area 2 was called Crazy Climber, which I quite liked the design of. Pairs from each team would have to climb up this kind of scaffold with a moving arcade tower backdrop. On this moving tower, there'd be different items dropping from the top, and the people climbing would have to avoid these until the tower stopped moving and they'd be at the top. This was another fun one, and again, I like the unique design of this by incorporating an arcade-esque backdrop. There was also some good tension here with people really trying to not get hit by these falling objects. By the end of Area 2 and these 3 rooms, only 2 teams remained. A lot of the teams had been knocked out, and it was just down to 2, the Bakusho Mondai team and the team of quote-unquote handsome actors. I'm not making that up though, that is legit just what they're referred to, just handsome actors. They moved into Area 3 called Mystery Castle. I love these names a lot, by the way, not just the designs of them. The first attraction here was called a Balance Maze, which was super sick, I just have to say. 3 people from each team would get inside this circular maze where they'd have to balance it to get a ball into the middle hole. This just reminded me of the challenge that they would sometimes do on Survivor, but of course this had the people actually in the maze, and that made it way more fun for me. Seeing them having to run around trying to get the tilt of the maze just right so that the ball could go where they wanted, yeah, this was a lot of fun, and despite it looking difficult, both teams advanced to the final room before the final room and area. The room was called Iron Ball, and this was another highlight for me. Here, one person from each team would be 15 meters above a small tube where they have to drop an iron ball into. I'm American, so I unfortunately don't know the metric system that well, but this looked very, very tall, and that made this whole thing feel almost impossible. They did have 3 tries to do so. Nobody from the Handsome team was able to do it, so it was all on the Bakusho Mondai team. I also praised Fukuzawa's commentary earlier, but I have to do it again because this was easily the most intense attraction of the entire show that took a lot of focus and precision. Fukuzawa reflected this by keeping up his commentary but also whispering it the entire time during this, and I love that added touch. It just gave so much more weight to the whole spectacle of anticipation.
2投目を手に取りました。手が汗ばんでいるのがここからもよーく見て取れます。コンセントレーションを高める。祈るメンバーたち。
For Bakusho Mondai, when the ball was dropped on the 3rd and final attempt, it looked as if the ball did not go into the tube and it was deemed a failure. But then they went to VAR, checked the replays, and it turned out that the ball did go into the tube for like a second before it bounced right out. Since it did go in the tube though, they were able to advance, and thus they were the last team remaining heading into the final area. Here the area was called Sky Zone, and this last room was called Moonbike. It was pretty simple. 3 members of the team would have to cross the narrow suspended bridge by bike. This gave me some Unbeatable Banzuke vibes, to be honest. I can say that HG was one of the 3 attempting this, which made me excited to see if he could bring home the W. The first member fell pretty short, and after that it was HG's turn. HG went crazy here as he went to the very end, and then he fell off at the very end. That was actually so disappointing, but at the same time, it was exactly the type of thing I was looking forward to seeing, so it was also fun. I just could not believe how close he made it. And the member after him wasn't able to make it either, so this first ever edition of Doors ended with no winners. But at least HG and his team made it to the very end. It's not even HG's team either, but I mean, you get my point. There were also a couple prizes that could have been won at different stages of this as well. They could have won World Soccer Winning 11-9, aka PES 5, which is pretty crazy to me. They also could have won some premium Matsusaka meat, and I love this prize especially. There was also the chance in the very last challenge to win a Toyota IST for every member of the team, so maybe that's really cool too for all the car enthusiasts out there. 3 hours and 17 minutes later, after watching all of this, I came away really enjoying it. I had no idea what to expect at all, but wow, there was just so much creativity in this. From the designs of the actual areas and rooms to the funny reactions and fails of those competing to the actual games themselves. Again, the whole amusement park slash escape room aesthetic here was executed so well, and that's not something I would have ever thought about that could be turned into a whole game show. I also got to see Razor Ramon HG compete on this, and that was just the cherry on top. Doors was just a good, fun watch. I didn't even care that it was so long because I was into it the whole time. I know for sure now that I'll have to check out the following editions of this. I love checking out these different shows, reality or game, for the first time, especially when they're in a different language. That makes the experience way more fun. So overall, Doors was epic. Let me know down below if you've ever seen this show and how well you'd think you'd do on it. Also, let me know what else you'd like to see me talk about on this channel. Like the video, subscribe for more videos, and yeah, thank you for watching. I also want to give a quick shout out to my patron for helping support the channel.